My wife abandoned us to find herself. Now karma is paying her back. The note that changed everything, I could feel it in my gut. That terrible knot of dread. Something was off. I should have known. Maybe I was too blinded by love or too busy with the day-to-day grind to see the warning signs. But the truth hit me like a freight train the moment I walked into the house. There was no Sarah, and there was no explanation. I'm Alex, 34 years old, trying to keep it all together, even when everything was falling apart. I was married to Sarah, who I thought was my soulmate. She's 32, beautiful in a way that made strangers stop and stare. Long, dark hair that cascaded down her back, and those deep, hazel eyes that you could drown in. But it wasn't just her looks. It was the warmth she radiated, the way she made everything feel like it was going to be okay, even when it was falling apart. We had built a life, a family. Our daughter, Emma, was 5 years old and the light of my life. My world revolved around her. We were the typical working parents, just trying to make it work. I worked long hours in a sales job, she worked in marketing, and we juggled everything: jobs, bills, errands, and Emma. But there was always this underlying promise we had made to each other. One day we'd break free. We would travel, take a few months off to explore, reconnect. Our dream had been simple. Just the three of us, away from the stress of life, living in the moment. But lately, Sarah had been distant. Not in a glaring way, but in a subtle way that I could feel down to my bones. She would zone out during dinner, not really talk to me, just scroll endlessly on her phone. When I'd ask if something was wrong, she would brush it off, saying she was just tired. Stress from work, she said. But even when I suggested that we talk about it, she would shut down. I thought the trip we had been planning would fix it. I was wrong. I walked in from work that day, my head already filled with plans for the evening. Maybe we'd pick up dinner, I'd get some work done, and we could just unwind. But the moment I stepped into the silence of our house, I knew something was wrong. I didn't hear the usual sounds of Sarah in the kitchen or Emma playing in her room. My mind raced. Maybe they were out. Maybe Sarah was at the store. But as I walked past the living room and into the kitchen, my heart dropped into my stomach. On the counter was a note. A simple, folded piece of paper with my name written on it in Sarah's handwriting. I wasn't prepared for what it would say. I stood there frozen, the words on the paper blurring as my eyes filled with confusion. Alex, I need some time to figure things out. I'm sorry, but I have to do this on my own. I'll be back when I'm ready. That was it. No reason, no explanation, just a cold, emotionless note. My brain couldn't process it. I kept staring at the paper, hoping it would somehow change, hoping it was a bad joke. But it wasn't. It was real. And just like that, everything I knew, everything I had worked for, felt like it was slipping away. I looked around the house in disbelief. Her shoes were gone. The coat she wore every morning, gone. The familiar hum of the washing machine, the smell of her favorite perfume in the air. It was all gone. The place felt empty, like a shell of what it had been. Sarah's car wasn't parked outside, and I could already tell that whatever this was, it wasn't temporary. It wasn't a fight that could be smoothed over in a few days. She had planned this. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail, like it had been for the past few days when I tried to reach her. I left a message, calm, collected, just asking for her to call me back, to explain, but she never did. At that moment, my brother Steve's voice popped into my head. He'd always been the one to keep me grounded, always the logical one, even when I was drowning in emotions. I grabbed my phone and dialed him. "Steve, she's gone," I said, my voice cracking. "What do you mean, gone?" He sounded more concerned than surprised. "I mean gone. There's a note, Steve. She's left. She says she needs time to figure things out. She's gone, and I don't know why." Steve was quiet for a moment before he let out a sigh. "Alex, you need to lock down the finances. She could take more than just the time she's asking for." I hadn't even thought of that. My mind was still trying to wrap around the fact that my wife, my partner, the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, was gone. Just like that, I walked through the house, checking closets, the drawers where she kept her things. I needed to understand the damage, to understand just how much she had planned this. Her clothes were gone. A few personal items were missing. And when I looked at the bank account, I saw it. A large sum of money had been withdrawn, half of what we had saved for our trip. I felt sick, betrayed. I sat on the couch, trying to steady my thoughts. Sarah was out there somewhere, and she was fine. She was living her life without a care in the world. And here I was, home alone, trying to hold everything together for Emma. I couldn't help but feel that crushing weight. What was I supposed to say to our daughter when she asked about her mom? How could I explain this? That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of that note flashed in my mind. I need time to figure things out. But what did that even mean? The next morning, I put on a smile for Emma. She had no idea what was going on. She still thought her mom was just on a trip. I kept the lie going because I didn't know what else to say. And when I sat down for breakfast with her, the reality of it hit me harder than I ever expected. Sarah wasn't coming back. Not today, not tomorrow, and maybe not ever. It's funny how quickly your life can change. One moment you're making plans for the future, dreaming of new adventures, and the next you're left in the wreckage of someone else's decision. That morning, I was still trying to act like everything was normal, but nothing was normal anymore. I had a 5-year-old daughter to care for, and my wife had disappeared without a trace. I couldn't even begin to process what had happened. Sarah's absence had left a hole so big that I didn't know how to fill it. How could I even begin to explain any of this to Emma? She was too young to understand. All I could do was pretend, for her sake. I told her mom was on a little trip and would be back soon, even though I had no idea when that would be, or if it would ever happen. After breakfast, I grabbed my phone again, hoping for some kind of answer, some sign that Sarah would return and explain herself. The same pattern repeated, call after call, straight to voicemail. I was getting desperate, so I did what anyone might do when they're unsure where else to turn. I called Sarah's best friend, Jen. Jen and Sarah had been inseparable in college. They were like two halves of a whole, or so I thought. If anyone had answers, it would be her. But when I explained everything, the shock in Jen's voice confirmed my worst fears. Wait, what? She left? Without saying anything to me? Are you sure? Her disbelief mirrored my own. It was clear Sarah had kept this decision to herself. There was no warning, no conversation, just an abrupt exit. Jen promised she would try to reach out to Sarah, but I knew deep down it was pointless. Sarah had made her choice and she wasn't coming back, at least not anytime soon. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I did my best to keep things together for Emma's sake, taking her to the park, pushing my thoughts aside to focus on her. But inside, I was unraveling. I couldn't stop replaying everything over and over in my head. What had happened to the woman I married? How had we ended up here? I thought we were doing fine. Sure, we'd had our problems, but every marriage has its ups and downs. I never imagined she'd just walk away from our family, from our life. By the time Emma went to bed that night, I was exhausted. But it wasn't the physical exhaustion of a long day. It was the emotional drain of trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. I sat in the quiet of our living room, staring at the empty space where Sarah's things used to be, wondering if she was out there thinking about us. I thought about all the little moments we'd shared, the quiet nights, the laughs, the plans. It all felt like a lie now, and the more I thought about it, the more I felt the sting of betrayal. She didn't just leave me. She left us. She left Emma, too. The silence of the house became deafening, and the weight of everything pressed down on me. I could feel my heart racing, a mixture of anger and hurt bubbling to the surface. I wanted answers. I needed to know why she left, what went wrong, and how she could do this to us. But I wasn't sure where to start. That's when I remembered something Steve had told me the night before. He'd mentioned securing our finances, making sure she couldn't take more than what she already had. It hadn't even crossed my mind, but now I realized he was right. I needed to protect myself and Emma. I grabbed my laptop and logged into our joint accounts. My stomach churned as I saw it. The large sum of money Sarah had withdrawn. Half of what we'd saved for our trip. My hard-earned savings. Gone. I could feel the rage building in my chest. How could she? After everything we'd been through, after the life we'd built together, she had just taken it all and left. I opened up our bank statements and scrolled through them, looking for anything else she might have taken, any other clues. But it wasn't just the money, it was everything else she'd taken, too. She'd taken a part of me, and that's when I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I decided to check her social media. I wasn't proud of it. It felt wrong, like I was betraying her trust, but I was desperate for answers. Maybe I'd find something, anything that could explain why she had disappeared without a word. I went to her Instagram first. She hadn't posted anything in days, but then I saw it. A new photo, a picture of Sarah on a beach, sunglasses on, smiling like she hadn't a care in the world. The caption read, "Finally feeling free." I felt the world slip from under me. Free? She felt free? I stared at the photo, at the woman in it, but I couldn't recognize her. This wasn't the Sarah I had known. This wasn't the woman who promised to build a life with me. I clicked on the comments. Friends were hyping her up, calling her brave, saying things like, "You deserve it, girl. Living your truth." It was as if they didn't see what I saw, the abandonment, the betrayal. I took a screenshot. It felt like the only thing I could do in that moment, but even as I did it, I knew it wouldn't change anything. The Sarah I once knew was gone. The woman in that photo wasn't her. And now I had to figure out how to move forward without her. The days following Sarah's disappearance felt like I was living in a fog. The house, once filled with laughter, now felt like a shell. I went through the motions, taking Emma to school, doing the laundry, making dinner, but inside, I was a wreck. The pain was raw, and it wasn't just the anger I felt towards Sarah. It was the grief of losing the life I thought I had. The life I thought we had. I called Steve every day, needing someone to talk to, someone who could keep me grounded. But no matter how much I tried to convince myself that everything would work out, I knew deep down that I couldn't just keep waiting for Sarah to decide if she wanted to come back, waiting for some sign that she still cared. A few nights later, I was sitting in the living room, the silence pressing in around me. Emma had just gone to bed, and for the first time in days, I let myself break. I had tried to stay strong for her, but I couldn't keep up the act anymore. My emotions spilled out of me like a dam breaking, a mixture of pain, frustration, and betrayal. I couldn't stop thinking about everything Sarah had said to me in the past. I just need time to figure things out. What did that even mean? Was it just a line? Or had she been planning this all along? It was like she'd been living a different life while I was stuck in the one we'd built together. And as much as I hated to admit it, I couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been planning her escape for a while. That night, I found myself doing something I'd never thought I'd do. I logged into Sarah's old email account. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was violating her privacy, but I was desperate. I needed answers. And every time I looked at Emma, so innocent and confused, I felt like I was losing her too. I had to figure out why Sarah had left, why she had chosen this life over us. The inbox was filled with spam, promotional emails, and random newsletters. But as I scrolled down, something caught my eye. There were a few emails from a dating app. I opened one and my stomach dropped. It was from a guy named Mike. A conversation, just a few messages at first, friendly enough. But as I kept scrolling, I realized something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't just casual chatting. She had been talking to him for weeks, maybe longer. The dates on the messages lined up perfectly with the nights she said she was out with friends or needing space. My mind raced. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this? I clicked through more of the emails. There were other names, other men, each one more intimate than the last. I felt sick. How long had this been going on? While I was here working, taking care of Emma, she was out there building connections with strangers. Could see the truth now. It wasn't just about needing time to herself. This was about something else entirely. She had been living a double life. And the worst part? I had been so blinded by love, I didn't even see it. Then I found it, a link to a shared photo album. My hand trembled as I clicked on it. The photos were recent, and there she was, smiling like nothing was wrong. Sarah at the beach, Sarah at a bar with some guy's arm around her. Sarah laughing, carefree and free from any responsibility. This wasn't the woman I had married. This wasn't the Sarah I thought I knew. She had left us, walked away without a second thought, and now she was living her best life. I slammed the laptop shut, the overwhelming weight of betrayal crashing down on me. I wanted to scream, to shout, to confront her, but I knew that would be pointless. She had made her choice, and now there was no going back. The next morning, I did what I had to do. I took Emma to the park, trying to act normal. She was still so innocent, so unaware of the devastation that had overtaken our lives. I kept telling myself that I was doing it for her, that I had to keep it together, even when every fiber of my being was telling me to fall apart. We spent the day at the park, Emma playing with other kids, running around, laughing like everything was fine. I watched her, trying to hold back the tears. I couldn't do this. I couldn't pretend anymore. My life, my family, everything had been turned upside down, and I had no idea how to fix it. That night, after I tucked Emma into bed, I sat in the living room and called Steve. I hadn't told him about what I had found in Sarah's email. I couldn't bring myself to do it. It felt too humiliating, too shameful. But Steve could hear the change in my voice. "Alex," he said, his voice soft. "What's going on? You sound different." I hesitated before I finally let it all spill out. "She's been seeing other guys, Steve. I found messages. I found photos. She left us for them, for a life without us." There was a long pause. When Steve finally spoke, his voice was calm, but I could hear the anger beneath it. "You didn't deserve this, man. You didn't ask for this." I didn't respond right away. What could I say? He was right, but it didn't change the fact that everything I thought I knew was a lie. I tried to take comfort in Steve's words, but deep down, I knew the truth. Sarah was gone, and I had to face the reality that I couldn't keep waiting for her to come back. I had to think about Emma now. I had to figure out how to give her the stability and love she needed, even if it meant doing it on my own. I had spent weeks lost in a haze, pretending to be fine for Emma's sake. The pain, the anger, the confusion, it all boiled beneath the surface, threatening to spill over at any moment. But I didn't let it. I held it in, put on the smile, took care of Emma, took care of myself. It wasn't easy, but it was what had to be done. And yet, no matter how many times I convinced myself that Sarah's absence would eventually make sense, the reality remained. She was gone, and she wasn't coming back, not in any way that mattered. Then came the phone call, the call I had both dreaded and anticipated. It was Thanksgiving morning, the day that, just a few months ago, I would have spent with Sarah and Emma. The three of us gathered around the table, sharing laughs, good food, and even better memories. But this year felt different. The house was quiet, eerily so. I tried to fill the silence with the usual distractions, fixing breakfast, keeping busy, but my mind kept drifting back to Sarah. I had no idea how I would handle Thanksgiving with Emma. No idea how to explain everything to my family, especially the ones who didn't know the full story. No one knew about the photos, the messages, or the secrets Sarah had been keeping from me. It was too humiliating to share, and honestly, I didn't want their pity. I just wanted to get through the day without breaking down. I was getting Emma dressed when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with Sarah's name. My stomach dropped. It wasn't the apology I had hoped for. It wasn't the explanation I so desperately wanted. Instead, it was a simple text. "I'd like to come by and see Emma today." Just like that, no preamble, no explanation, just the cold request. As if she were still a part of our lives, as if she had any right to waltz back into our world whenever she felt like it. The audacity of it hit me like a slap in the face. I stared at the message for a moment, the anger rising in my chest. How could she just show up and act like nothing had happened? Like she hadn't ripped apart the fabric of our family? But I couldn't ignore Emma. She had been asking about her mom every day, her innocent questions cutting through me like a knife. Couldn't let her down. Not today. I quickly texted back, We'll be at my parents' place. You can come by if you want, but don't expect everything to be normal." Her reply was short, "Okay." When we arrived at my parents' house, everything seemed to be just as it had been in years past. My mom bustling around the kitchen, my dad sitting in his favorite chair watching the parade. But the air felt thick, like everyone knew something had changed, but no one was ready to say it out loud. I could feel their eyes on me, but no one spoke. They all knew something was wrong, but they were waiting for me to make the first move. Emma, bless her heart, didn't notice the tension. She was too busy playing with her cousins, lost in the excitement of the day. I tried to focus on her, but my mind kept drifting back to Sarah. And then she walked in. Sarah. She looked the same face, the same smile, the same calm demeanor. But something was different. She had a certain confidence in her step, like she had everything under control, like she hadn't just walked away from us months ago. She walked straight to Emma, scooping her up in a hug, like she hadn't abandoned her daughter. Emma's face lit up, and for a brief moment, I could almost pretend that everything was okay. But deep down, I knew it wasn't okay. The silence in the room was deafening. My parents sat there, not saying a word. Steve gave Sarah a pointed look, one that said everything I couldn't bring myself to say, but she pretended not to notice. She smiled and chatted with everyone like nothing had changed. She talked about her trip, how it had been good for her, and how she needed time to figure things out. I couldn't take it anymore. I leaned in, my voice tight with the anger I had been holding back for so long. "So that's it? You just show up like nothing happened? You walked out on Emma and me, and now you want to act like everything's fine?" Sarah glanced at me, not a hint of guilt in her eyes. "Alex, I needed this," she said calmly, as if she were explaining why she took an extra hour for lunch or something. "I needed to figure things out. And I'm here now, aren't I?" The room went quiet. Even Emma seemed to notice the shift. My parents exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke. My brother Steve looked like he was ready to explode, but he kept his cool, watching the exchange with barely contained anger. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "You don't get to just waltz back in like nothing happened, Sarah. You left us. You abandoned your family. And now you're here because you think we're just going to let you back in? No apology, no explanation, just, I needed to figure things out? That's how you see this?" Sarah shifted uncomfortably, for the first time looking less than confident. "I'm here for Emma. I just wanted to be part of her life again. I still care about her, Alex." I could barely control my emotions now. "It's not just about you, Sarah. It's about Emma, too. You walked out on us without a word. You didn't just leave me, you left her too. You think a few hugs and a smile are going to fix that?" She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. "You don't get to come back because things didn't go the way you wanted. You don't get to fix this when it's convenient for you." The room fell into a thick, suffocating silence. My parents didn't know what to say, and Steve looked at me with a quiet, supportive gaze. Sarah's calm facade was cracking. She looked at me, her voice quieter now, almost pleading. "I'm sorry, okay? I just didn't know what I wanted. But now I realize I was wrong. I want to fix things. I want to come home." I shook my head. "No, you don't get to do that. Not after everything." For the first time I saw it, her true face. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She just wanted a way out. A way back to the life she had so carelessly tossed aside. "I'm done, Sarah. I'm done waiting around for you to figure it out. Emma and I, we've been through enough. I'm not going to let you back in just because you're tired of being alone. We've moved on." I stood up, feeling a sense of finality settle over me. I was done with her games, done pretending that there was any chance of fixing this. It felt surreal watching Sarah walk out of my life again. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting or tears, just her turning on her heel and leaving the house without a second glance. The door closed behind her, and I was left standing there, trying to comprehend everything that had just happened. I had told myself that I was ready to close that chapter, but now, with her gone again, I wasn't sure. I was exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally. I hadn't just lost my wife, I had lost the dream of the life we were supposed to have. A life that had been built on promises, shared experiences, and the hope of growing old together. But in the end, those promises had been broken, and there was no going back. I stood there for a long time after she left, unsure of what to do next. The house was still, as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I had learned a painful truth. I wasn't the person I used to be. And Emma was the only reason I was still standing. I walked into the living room where my parents were sitting in silence. They didn't need to say anything. They knew. Steve, who had been my rock through this entire ordeal, was sitting next to them. He didn't ask questions. He just gave me a knowing look and clapped me on the back. "Alex," my dad said softly, his voice full of concern. "You've done everything you could. You're a good man." I nodded, but the words didn't really sink in. In that moment, I didn't feel like a good man. I felt like a man who had been lied to, a man who had been used, a man who had lost everything he thought he understood. But in the depths of that pain, something started to shift. Maybe it was the love for Emma. Maybe it was the realization that I had nothing left to lose. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let Sarah's choices define me anymore. She had made her decision, and now it was my turn to choose. I was choosing Emma. I was choosing our future. We spent the rest of the day in a quiet, peaceful routine. Just Emma and me. We ate dinner together, I helped her with her favorite puzzle, and we read stories before bed, just like we always did. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was ours now, and it was enough. As I kissed Emma goodnight and tucked her in, I realized something. I wasn't as lost as I thought. I wasn't broken. I was just different. Stronger, maybe. I had been forced to face something I never expected, but I wasn't defeated. The next morning, I woke up with a new sense of clarity. I went into work, handled my responsibilities, and when I came home, I felt a sense of calm. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't constantly haunted by Sarah's absence. I had learned to move forward, to live in the present, to take care of the one person who mattered most, Emma. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, things started to fall into place. I was no longer waiting for Sarah to come back, no longer hoping she would return to fix the mess she had left behind. I was focusing on Emma, on building a life for us that was grounded in love and stability. We found our rhythm, simple, yes, but it was ours. Then, out of nowhere, Sarah called again. I saw her name on the screen and felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger, bitterness, and even a little curiosity. What could she possibly want now? Hadn't she done enough damage? I didn't answer the call. And when the voicemail came in, I debated whether or not to listen. But I did. Her voice was tentative, almost apologetic. She said she was sorry for everything, for abandoning us, for not being there when Emma needed her. She said she wanted to make things right. She said she wanted to come home. The message left me cold. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel happy. I just felt empty. The woman I had once loved, who I thought would be with me forever, was asking to come back because things hadn't worked out the way she'd planned. But I had learned my lesson. I had learned that sometimes people make choices, and those choices define who they are. Sarah's choice had been to walk away, and that was the reality I had to face. I deleted the voicemail and moved on. No more waiting, no more hoping, just Emma and me building a future. Later that night, I sat down with Steve, reflecting on everything that had happened. The anger had faded, the hurt still lingered, but there was no more doubt in my mind about what I needed to do. I had spent so many months questioning myself, wondering where I had gone wrong, but now I saw the truth. It wasn't about me, it was about Sarah, and she had made her choice. "Steve," I said, my voice calm for the first time in ages. "I'm done. I'm not waiting for her anymore. Emma and we're gonna be just fine." Steve looked at me with a smile that was full of pride. "I knew you'd get there. You've got this, man." And for the first time in months, I believed him. Life doesn't always go as we plan. Sometimes people make choices that shatter our world. But it's not the choice of others that defines us. It's how we choose to move forward. In the end, I learned that strength doesn't come from holding on to the past. It comes from letting go and embracing the future, even when it's uncertain. To all of you out there who might be going through something similar, remember this: you are stronger than you think. Don't let anyone's decisions take away your power. Focus on what truly matters and build a life that makes you proud. If you've been through something like this, or if this story resonated with you, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more stories. Thanks for listening. You've got this.